A man in a yellow shirt sprints through Bulgaria's Varna airport. He leaves his luggage behind and vanishes through the glass doors into the sunlight. That man is Lars Mittank, a 28-year-old German tourist who was supposed to catch a routine flight home. He never made it. This CCTV footage is the last time anyone ever saw him alive. Today, his disappearance is one of the most watched mysteries on the internet. Why did he run? What was he running from? In 2013, Lars Mittank was 27, living a quiet, ordinary life in the town of Itzehoe, in northern Germany. Born in 1986, he worked as a technician at a power plant, had a long-term girlfriend, and was an only child deeply close to his parents. After his father suffered stroke, Lars stepped in, helping around the house, putting family first. He was the kind of man you'd trust, the kind of son anyone would be proud of. So when his friends invited him on a summer vacation abroad, Lars didn't hesitate. In late June of 2014, the group flew to Golden Sands, a beach resort on Bulgaria's Black Sea coast. It was Lars's first trip outside of Germany. Sunday sand, cheap drinks, no responsibilities, just 6 friends looking for a break. For most of the trip, everything went perfectly. Lars swam, played football, laughed under the sun, and danced into the night. Friends would later say he was in good spirits, maybe a bit quieter than usual, maybe eating less, but nothing concerning. But no one knew that by the final day of the trip, Lars would never come home. July 6, 2014, the final night of their vacation. Lars and his friends headed to a local bar in Varna to celebrate. Just one more night of drinks, laughter, and goodbyes to the Black Sea. But something went wrong. Inside the bar, Lars got into a heated argument over football, a common spark in Germany, but this one felt different. Lars was a die-hard SV Werder Bremen fan. The men he clashed with, supporters of Bayern Munich. What began as casual banter escalated into a tense verbal fight. Later that night, outside a fast food restaurant, Lars suddenly split off from the group. He said he'd be right back. He wasn't. His friends waited, then looked for him. Eventually, they assumed he'd return on his own and made their way back to the resort. The next morning, July 7th, Lars finally resurfaced. But something was off. He claimed he'd been attacked during the night. According to him, the men from the bar, or someone they had hired, had followed him and beaten him in retaliation. He said they punched him, injured his jaw, and possibly ruptured his eardrum. His friends, concerned but confused, urged him to see a doctor. A local physician confirmed the damage to his ear and suspected a mild concussion. The doctor told Lars it wasn't safe to fly. Changes in air pressure could make things worse. He prescribed cefprozil, an antibiotic to prevent infection. That meant Lars couldn't fly home with the group. His friends offered to stay, to wait until he was cleared. But Lars insisted he'd be fine on his own. He told them to catch their flight and not to worry. Reluctantly, they said goodbye, expecting him to return to Germany just a day or two later. Privately, though, a few of them admitted Lars's story about the attack, it didn't quite add up. Still, nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared them for what would happen in the next 24 hours. With his friends gone, Lars checked into a cheap hotel near the airport called Hotel Color for one more night. It was a no-frills place, but convenient for catching an early flight. Alone in a foreign country, injured and likely in pain, Lars's behavior soon became erratic and alarming. That evening, and through the night of July 7th, something seemed to terrify him. Lars called his mother, Sandra Mittank, multiple times in a panic. In a hushed, anxious whisper, Lars told her that someone was following him, that he felt in danger, like something or someone was out to get him. He begged her to cancel his credit cards immediately. Concerned and confused, Sandra pressed him for more details. Who was after him? Why? But Lars didn't explain. He only repeated that she should cancel his cards and that he was hiding. Security cameras at the Hotel Color captured Lars pacing nervously up and down the hallways during that night. He kept peering out the windows and even hid in the elevator at one point, as if trying to conceal himself from someone unseen. Around 1 a.m., Lars abruptly left the hotel without any explanation, disappearing into the darkness outside. About an hour later, he returned just as suddenly, entering the elevator and crouching down as if avoiding detection. To this day, nobody knows where he went or what happened during that hour he spent outside. His mother later said that Lars sounded disoriented and terrified during his calls, but he had no history of mental illness that might explain such paranoia. By the early morning of July 8th, Lars placed another urgent call to his mother. He whispered that the people pursuing him were getting closer. One can only imagine Sandra's helpless fear on the other end of that phone line, hundreds of miles away, unable to protect her son. She urged him to go to the airport, find a safe public space, and catch the next flight home as soon as possible. Lars agreed, or at least he set out to do just that. On the morning of July 8, 2014, Lars Mittank arrived at Varna Airport, ready to return home. He texted his mother, "I'm at the airport. Everything's okay for now." It was a hopeful message, but within an hour, he would vanish. Due to his ear injury, Lars stopped at the airport's medical clinic before checking in. There, he met Dr. Kostov, the on-site physician who would later describe Lars as pale, agitated, and deeply paranoid. Lars questioned the antibiotic he'd been prescribed, cefprozil, asking again and again if it was safe, even though he never even picked it up from a pharmacy. Aside from the ear, Dr. Kostov found nothing wrong. Physically, Lars was fit to fly, and for a moment, it looked like his ordeal was almost over. But fate had other plans. The airport was under renovation, and during the checkup, a construction worker, wearing a helmet and vest, walked into the room. The moment Lars saw him, something snapped. He began to tremble. His eyes widened, and then, without warning, he shouted in panic, "Something's wrong. I can't stay. I have to get out." Before the doctor could react, Lars bolted out of the exam room. He sprinted through the terminal, leaving everything behind. His backpack, passport, phone, wallet, all dropped on the floor. Airport surveillance footage caught it all. A man in a yellow shirt running full speed past stunned travelers, charging out the terminal doors, vaulting a security fence, and then gone. Into the fields, into the trees, never seen again. Outside the airport fence, Lars seemed to vanish into thin air. He never boarded a flight, never returned to the hotel, and never contacted anyone again. Bulgarian police launched an immediate search. They combed the surrounding woods, fields, and nearby areas for days. But there was no trace of Lars. No clothing, no footprints, no body, no signs of a struggle. It was as if the earth had swallowed him whole. The disappearance of Lars Mittank, the German tourist on a flight home, had begun. In the days following Lars Mittank's disappearance, a massive investigation began. Bulgarian police launched search teams. German authorities, the Bundeskriminalamt, joined in. They checked hospitals, shelters, and morgues. They questioned locals, reviewed security footage, and followed every possible lead. But nothing. No one had seen him. No one had heard from him. Lars Mittank had simply vanished. His mother, Sandra, flew to Bulgaria. Desperate to find her only son, she hired a private investigator. They searched the countryside, scanned medical records, visited clinics in remote towns. They checked for John does in psychiatric facilities and unidentified patients in hospitals. But no match was ever found. Weeks passed, then months, and just when the trail began to go cold, something unexpected happened. The airport footage, that haunting video of Lars running for his life, went viral. It spread across YouTube and social media like wildfire. Viewers around the world were transfixed. Who was this man in the yellow shirt? What was he running from? By 2018, the video had been watched over 16 million times. People started calling Lars the most famous missing tourist in the world. On forums and in true crime communities, online sleuths dissected every second of the footage, searching for clues, analyzing his posture, speculating about what or who he saw. Over the years, sightings poured in. A truck driver in Varna said he picked up a hitchhiker who looked like Lars, but the lead went nowhere. In Brazil, a photo of a confused man sparked a social media storm, but it wasn't him. In 2019, another driver swore the man he gave a ride to, tall, thin, long hair, quiet, could have been an older Lars Mittank. But again, nothing could be confirmed. Still, his mother has never stopped searching. She's appeared on television. She runs a Facebook group, Findet Lars Mittank, where tens of thousands of people continue to share hope, stories, and theories. Today, we still don't know what happened to Lars. No sign he survived, but also nothing to confirm the worst. What we're left with is a puzzle. A young man who ran into a field in broad daylight and somehow disappeared without a trace. How does someone vanish in front of the world's cameras and stay gone? That's the question that still haunts this case. And why, 10 years later, the mystery of Lars Mittank still isn't over. With no answers and no trace of Lars Mittank, theories began to emerge. None are confirmed, but each offers a different lens into the most chilling missing person case on YouTube. One of the most widely discussed theories is that Lars suffered a sudden mental breakdown. The paranoia, the whispering, the fear of being followed, all consistent with psychotic episode or acute delirium. Some believe his injuries, the head trauma and ruptured eardrum, may have played a role in what happened next. Others point to the antibiotic he was prescribed, cefprozil. While it's uncommon, medications in this class have, in rare cases, been linked to unusual side effects, including confusion, paranoia, and even vivid hallucinations. Lars's own mother considered this possibility, but according to Dr. Kostov, Lars never actually took the medication. Another angle, what psychologists call a first break, the onset of schizophrenia or a latent mental illness, often triggered in the late 20s. Lars had no prior history of mental illness, but sometimes it strikes without warning. Still, even if Lars was hallucinating, why run into a forest? And if he did, why hasn't anyone found a single trace of him? What if Lars's fear wasn't imagined, but real? He told his mother, more than once, "They're after me." Could the fight at the bar have escalated beyond what his friends knew? Some speculate the men he argued with hired locals to retaliate. His behavior at the hotel, hiding, whispering, peering down hallways, could be the actions of someone truly being hunted. If Lars bolted from the airport that morning, maybe he wasn't running from a hallucination. Maybe he saw someone. Maybe someone was waiting for him. And if they caught up to him after he cleared the fence, that could explain why no one ever found him. The third major theory is darker still. That Lars Mittank, panicked, disoriented, vulnerable, became the victim of abduction. Outside the airport, he could have crossed paths with the wrong person. Some suspect human trafficking. Others whisper about organized crime, or worse. One idea suggests he might have climbed into a stranger's car for help, and was never seen again. Even more fringe theories suggest a cover-up, that authorities or local interests silenced the case to protect Bulgaria's tourism industry. But again, there's no proof. These are all shadows on a wall, possibilities without substance. Was Lars hallucinating, or seeing something no one else could? Was he sick or hunted? Why didn't he ask for help at the airport? Why abandon everything? Each theory has holes. Each feels possible, but incomplete. In the end, we're left with questions. Why did Lars Mittank run? And more haunting still, where did he go? It's now been over a decade since Lars Mittank ran out of Varna Airport and into the unknown. His disappearance remains one of the most haunting travel mysteries of our time. For his mother, each day since has been a day of not knowing. A day spent wondering if her son is still out there somewhere, living off the grid, confused or lost in memory. From time to time, a new tip surfaces, a possible sighting, and with it, a flicker of hope. But just as quickly, that hope fades. Lars left Germany for a fun summer trip with friends. He never came home. No souvenirs, just questions and heartbreak. What really happened on that July morning in 2014? Was Lars running from someone, or something inside his own mind? How does a healthy young man, tracked by cameras, surrounded by people, vanish without a single trace? The Lars Mittank case is more than a mystery. It's a real-life paradox, a chilling story that blurs the line between everyday life and the unimaginable. It continues to fascinate detectives, internet sleuths, and compassionate strangers alike, all searching for that missing puzzle piece that might bring him home. And in the end, we're left with a single image. Lars caught on grainy CCTV, glancing back one last time before he disappears from view. A real-life nightmare frozen in time. But behind the intrigue, the internet theories, and the headlines is a family still searching, friends still hoping, and a world still asking, what happened to Lars Mittank? What do you think happened? Share your theory in the comments. Maybe, just maybe, someone watching knows something, and that one clue could change everything. Until then, Lars's story remains open, a mystery that reminds us to stay curious, stay vigilant, and above all, hug your loved ones tight. Because sometimes people disappear, and sometimes they come home,